Picture this. You're at a football match. The energy is palpable, everyone's excited, ready for the game to start. But then suddenly it all goes wrong.
It's a scenario that became a horrifying reality on April 15th, 1989 at Hillsborough Stadium.
In Sheffield, right?
Exactly. It was the FA Cup semi-final, Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest. A day that should have been a celebration of football turned into an unimaginable tragedy.
The Hillsborough disaster. We're diving deep into it today. A story of immense loss, but also the fight for truth that followed. It's about understanding how this happened and its impact, not just on those directly affected, but on football and society as a whole. We've got some intense source material for this. Eyewitness accounts, official reports, even audio from a match just weeks after the disaster.
The depth of this material allows us to really explore the multiple facets of this event. The human stories, the investigations, the changes that were implemented because of Hillsborough. It's a complex picture.
So let's rewind to that day in 1989. It's a sunny afternoon, the match is about to kick off. Thousands of fans are already inside, but many more are still trying to get in. What happened next?
The Leppings Lane end of the stadium, where the Liverpool fans were, was already packed. The police, dealing with a growing crush outside the turnstiles, made a decision that proved fatal. They opened an exit gate, Gate C.
Letting in even more people.
Yes. A massive surge of fans poured through that single gate, creating a bottleneck and intense pressure in the already crowded standing room sections.
Those central pens, right? The ones behind the goal.
Exactly. The fencing meant to contain the crowd became a death trap. People were pressed against those metal barriers, completely unable to escape.
It's chilling just to imagine. The eyewitness accounts we have are truly harrowing. The panic, the struggle to breathe, the sheer terror.
And the heartbreaking reality that so many victims were young teenagers just there to enjoy a football match. It's crucial to remember the human cost of this. The individuals, the families left to deal with this unimaginable grief.
These weren't just statistics. They're people with lives, with loved ones. It's that human element we need to keep at the forefront. As we dig deeper, I think it's also vital to examine not just the immediate causes of the crush, but also what happened afterward. The response, the investigations.
You're absolutely right. The aftermath of Hillsborough is as much a part of this story as the events of that day itself. And what we see in the source material is troubling. A pattern of misinformation, blame shifting, attempts to control the narrative.
Those tabloid headlines immediately come to mind. Blaming fans, accusing them of being drunk, disorderly, out of control. It's disturbing.
And it went beyond just initial confusion or miscommunication. The Taylor report, which investigated the disaster, found evidence of a deliberate cover-up by the South Yorkshire police.
Really, a cover-up.
Witness statements were altered, ambulance access was delayed. They essentially constructed a false narrative to deflect blame from their own actions, their own negligence.
So, for the families who'd lost loved ones, this wasn't just about understanding what happened, it was about clearing their names, about fighting for the truth.
Exactly. They had to battle to challenge this official narrative, to make their voices heard. And it's here we see the emergence of one of the most remarkable figures in this story, Ann Williams.
Her son, Kevin, was just 15 when he died at Hillsborough. Tell me more about her.
Ann Williams embodies the unwavering love and determination of a mother who refused to accept the official version of events. She refused to believe her son's death was simply an accident and dedicated her life to uncovering the truth for Kevin and the other 95 victims.
From what I've read, the obstacles she faced were immense. It wasn't just about evidence, it was about taking on a system that seemed determined to silence her.
Absolutely. The initial inquest, held just months after the disaster, was deeply flawed. It imposed a 3:41 p.m. cutoff time for evidence.
What? So they just stopped considering evidence after a certain time?
That's right, which meant crucial details about the emergency response police conduct, the possibility that some victims could have been saved, were simply excluded from the investigation.
That's unbelievable. It's as if they were trying to bury the truth before it could even surface.
And that 3:01 p.m. cutoff became a symbol of the injustice felt by the families. It fueled their fight, their determination to keep pushing for a proper investigation, for accountability.
And Ann Williams was leading that charge.
She was relentless. She challenged authorities, gathered evidence, connected with other families, and refused to let the memory of her son and the other victims fade away. She became a symbol of hope and resilience for the entire Hillsborough community. Ann Williams' story is really powerful. Taking on this fight while grieving, it's incredible. What were some of her key achievements?
Her dedication to gathering evidence was striking. Tracking down witnesses, collecting medical records, even consulting experts in Europe. She left no stone unturned.
She turned her personal tragedy into a broader quest for justice. It wasn't just for her son, it was for all the victims, for their families, for acknowledging the wrongs of that day.
And she took on the powerful, even going to the European Court of Human Rights, setbacks, disappointment, even threats. She never wavered in her belief that the truth would come out.
And it did. But it took time. It wasn't until 2012, over 2 decades after the disaster, that the Hillsborough Independent Panel released their report. It was a turning point, revealing the police cover-up, the systemic failures.
I remember that. It was huge news, front page everywhere. It felt like a dam breaking, finally the truth coming out.
And the findings were shocking. The panel revealed 41 of the 96 victims might have survived with proper medical attention, and that police had altered witness statements, blaming the fans. It completely contradicted the official narrative.
For the families, it must have been bittersweet validation of their struggle, but also the realization of how deeply the truth had been buried.
Exactly, vindication, but also a stark reminder of the human cost of the cover-up, the pain that could have been avoided if the truth had been acknowledged from the start.
This report led to a new inquest, right?
Yes, in 2016, after years of campaigning by the families, this time no 3:15 p.m. cutoff. The evidence was thoroughly examined and the jury reached a landmark verdict. The 96 victims were unlawfully killed, and the police failures directly contributed.
Justice. Finally. What was the reaction?
Relief and catharsis. For the families, after years of being ignored, vilified, denied justice, they finally had the truth officially recognized. A powerful moment of closure for them, for Liverpool, a city that had carried the weight of this tragedy for so long.
Their perseverance is incredible, never giving up hope, their commitment to honoring their loved ones.
It speaks to the power of collective action, holding those in power accountable. The truth can prevail, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles.
And Anne Williams, sadly, didn't live to see this. She passed away in 2013.
But her legacy lives on. She was pivotal in getting to this point, forcing the re-examination of evidence, ensuring the victims were never forgotten.
A reminder that individuals can make a difference. Courage and persistence can challenge systems and bring about change.
Absolutely. Anne Williams is an inspiration, a reminder that even in the face of grief and injustice, the human spirit can triumph.
Hillsborough wasn't just about the fight for justice, but also its lasting impact. We mentioned earlier the overhaul of stadium safety in the UK.
Yes, the Taylor report recommended eliminating stand-in-only terraces, replacing them with all-seater stadiums. A major change to prevent crushing like what happened at Hillsborough.
I can't imagine a match without the energy of standing sections. Was there resistance to that?
Some pushback initially, but the memory of Hillsborough was so strong, the need for safety so clear, the changes were implemented across the board.
A tragedy forcing a reckoning with safety standards? What other lasting impacts did it have?
It profoundly affected the culture of football. It challenged the often confrontational fan-police relationship, leading to more dialogue, cooperation between clubs, supporters, authorities.
Like the audio we have from the FA Cup final, just weeks after Liverpool played Everton, their rivals, incredibly emotional.
It was poignant, the grief, the solidarity between fans, the minute's silence. It spoke to the deep impact, not just on Liverpool, but the entire football community.
A sense of unity, shared grief, but also a determination to move forward, to heal, honor those lost.
Absolutely. And Liverpool winning that match, Ian Rush scoring the winning goal, brought joy amidst the sadness, a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit, finding hope, even celebration in the face of tragedy.
But the scars run deep. Even today, Liverpool holds an annual memorial service.
And the club crest incorporates the eternal flames, a symbol of remembrance, a constant reminder of the tragedy, but also of the enduring spirit of the city and its people.
This deep dive has been heavy. From the events of that day to the fight for justice, the impact on football and society, it's a lot to process. As we wrap up, what lessons can we take away? Not just as fans, but as individuals.
It's about empathy, remembering that behind the statistics, the headlines, are real people whose lives were changed forever by this tragedy.
It's easy to get caught up in the facts, the legal battles, the politics, but we can't lose sight of the human cost.
Exactly. And it also shows the power of collective action. The families never gave up their fight. They organized, campaigned, demanded answers, and their collective voice forced those in power to listen.
Proving that even ordinary people can make a difference when they unite for a cause.
Absolutely. And today, with so much information coming at us, it's crucial to be critical thinkers. Question the narratives. Be willing to stand up for what's right, even when it's hard.
So, reflecting on Hillsborough, what's the most thought-provoking thing you'd leave our listeners with?
I ask, What stories aren't being told in our own communities? What injustices need to be brought to light? Whose voices need amplifying? What can we do together and individually to make sure the truth wins out and those responsible are held accountable?
A powerful challenge, one I hope our listeners will consider. Hillsborough reminds us that pursuing justice is a constant struggle, but essential for a just and equitable world.
Well said. And remember, knowledge is only as valuable as its application. Let's take these lessons and use them to make a difference.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the Hillsborough disaster. It's a story that demands our attention, our empathy, and our commitment to ensuring such tragedies are never forgotten, and that the lessons learned help shape a safer, more just future for everyone.